You're listening to Permission to Shine, the podcast. Stories of overcoming obstacles and finding self-empowerment with Sharice Bisram, Inner Power Activation Leader. The Oxford Dictionary describes permission as the action of officially allowing someone to do a particular thing, consent, authorization. What if you were that someone and you gave yourself the permission to be everything you wanted to be and more? No more playing small and accepting less than. You are worthy of the life of your dreams, regardless of what it is that you've been through. And honestly, it's exactly what you've been through that shaped you into the version of yourself that you are now. Like a diamond, you've endured so much, but instead of breaking, you have become stronger and brighter. And if that's not a reason to shine, then I don't know what is. And if nature can do it, then why the hell can't you? You are brave, you are strong, you are powerful, and you are enough. Hear my call and give yourself the permission to shine, because you don't realise how many people are inspired by your light. Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 69. And today I want to talk about divine feminine leadership. Now, you'll hear me talk about divine feminine all of the time, right? If you've been listening up to date, you'll know that I speak about that quite a lot. And for those of you that don't know, the masculine is the doing energy. The feminine is the being energy. So when we say divine feminine leadership, that might seem a little bit of a crossover, because I think that we've been conditioned to see leaders as masculine, right? But how I'd like you to look at it is queen energy. Yeah. So stepping into that queen vibe, right? If you think about Queen Elizabeth, may she rest in peace, she ruled on her own, right? Granted, she had Prince Albert, but he was a prince. He didn't ever upgrade to king. She kept him as a prince because it was her kingdom, okay? And I want you to think about that in your everyday life, because I think when we say leadership, a lot of us think about being a leader in the workplace, being a leader in the public eye or parliament or any of those things. And it is that too, right? But it's also being the leader of your own life. It's making the decisions that you want to, when you want to, and trusting yourself so much to do that. Because I think that, as women, again, we've been conditioned to follow the rules, listen to what other people have done or what society expects of us, and to not create our own pathway, but to follow what's been, laid out for us. Okay. And I think with probably most of you that listen right now is that you have noticed that something isn't sitting right with that. You've either started to rebel and break the rules, or you want to, and you're just figuring out how and what that looks like for you. This is where you are being called to tap into that divine feminine leadership, to be able to take the reins back on your life. Now, I don't want to use the word control, but it might come out a few times just in general conversation, but I don't mean control as in like a puppet master on a string. I don't mean that. What I mean is taking life into your own hands and making decisions based on what you truly want and deserve. That's what I'm talking about. And I think that when we give ourselves the permission to be able to do that, that's when everything changes. That's when you are co-creating with the universe. You are listening to your soul's message, and also to the intuition sent for you from the universe or God or whoever it is that you believe in. And that's really what I want from all of you that listen to this podcast, because that's very much been my journey. And I'll talk about this just in a little bit more of a way that you will understand, because I think that for me, if you were to tell me divine feminine leadership a few years ago, I would have been like, hey, what is that? I don't know. And I would have understood the concept of a queen, but I wouldn't have understood what that looked like for me. And it's really funny because where Pluto is now going direct in Capricorn, Pluto is in my personal chart. Pluto's actually in my fourth house, which is family, but it also connects with the relationship between the masculine and the feminine. Now, that's been a lot of my trauma, but also a lot of my healing is me siding and understanding that I need both energies in order to be able to live a balanced life and to thrive, really, right? So, all of this is quite prevalent right now because on a global scale, with Pluto going direct in Capricorn, we are now starting to see where the old outdated ways that we've been doing things haven't worked and what we're ready to shift, and patriarchy is one of them. So this is why this all feeds in. And for me particularly, that journey of our masculine and feminine in a wider society as well is so interesting. The reason why I chose this particular thing, divine feminine leadership, even to do for my free masterclass I have coming up, because that was just something that was intuitively sent to me, and I listened and I was like, wow. And then now everything I'm seeing is around this. I'm like, yeah, of course, makes absolute sense. So, by listening to this podcast and also attending my free masterclass, you're going to get ahead of the curve with it, because Aquarius is all about breaking the rules, doing things differently. It's that air perspective, like it's easy, free flowing. There's lots of different shifts. You can change directions and pathways. There's no set rule to it. Whereas with Capricorn, it was so heavily structured. Now, that works for me in some senses because my moon's in Capricorn. So the way I think is quite strategic. Another reason probably why this masterclass makes so much sense and why I'm trying to make it make sense. But it's, yeah, basically the universe is calling you to listen to what it is your soul needs and act upon that. The Aquarius is also about creating energy. So and Aquarius is like the business sign of the zodiac. So if there's something that your soul's been calling you to do, whether it's, you want to start your own cake company, or you want to get into doing more fashion-based stuff or writing blogs, the universe is going to be pushing you over to do that thing, right? Especially if this has been an idea for so long, this is what the universe is shaking you to do, right? Shaking you out of that comfort zone to create action. And if you're listening to this up to date, we have a full moon in Aquarius, which is happening, sorry, not Aquarius, a full moon in Aries, which is happening this week. So I'm airing this on Sunday. The full moon is on Thursday. So that is all about, as I say, full moons are for releasing. Yeah, you're letting go. And whenever you listen to this, by the way, you can always use the full moon to release. Like, write a list of what you don't want to carry with you anymore, whether that's people pleasing, listening to other people's BS, and actually you just want to walk away. Like, that's something you that's a you thing, right? You want to stop being a people pleaser. You want to stop pacifying other people. You want to stop playing small. And really pay attention with the full moons to what sign is ruling it. So Aries is a fire sign, right? That's all about burning away. So literally write that list out and burn it. Go somewhere safe and burn that list. And I like to do so, for example, the next well, if the moon's in an earth sign, you can bury it. If it's in a water sign, you can put it into water. So literally throw it out into the ocean or something like that. And if it's an air sign, I like to work with candles. So then you can blow the candle out, blow the air out, or speak out that list into the universe and then rip it up, do whatever you want with it. But essentially, it's giving it up to the universe. And this is how you work with these energies, which is going to be great for now if you're ready to step into that feminine, divine feminine leadership. So just to take you all back on my journey, I always felt like in order to be successful or a great leader, you had to hustle hard. You had to put your grind into the bone. Your time and energy is all going into the thing that you're building towards. Yeah, or everything. And I didn't realize that it didn't have to be that way. And that's because all of the leaders that I'd ever seen had done it that way. Right. And I think that I am a 90s baby. So that hustle babe, hustle culture was the thing. And I speak about this quite a lot. It was only when I started to do my healing journey that I realized how toxic that was. And I was like, we need to stop doing it like men. I want to start paying attention to our feminine traits that are natural to us, listen to those and cultivate that space. And I was really lucky because when I began my healing journey, I started looking at vulnerability. So I started looking at Brene Brown, people like that, that speak about um, how vulnerability is a strength, right? Vulnerability is a strength because it allows you to show all parts of you. Now, when you are in your masculine, as we know commonly, men aren't open to show their vulnerability, right? So they are projecting a version of them that the world wants them to see to meet up with society's expectations. Now, masculine men and men in general have both feminine and masculine energies as females do. You know, all beings, whether you're identifying as a man or female or non-binary, whatever you identify as, your energy will have masculine and feminine energy, and you need both, right? Even men can lead from a divine feminine place. So I just want to clarify that. Um, but I think that ego-led projection is what we see across the board. Like, I don't watch politics or the news anymore for that reason, because I just think it's just like a my horse is bigger than your horse competition. They go around the bush for the answers, you know, instead of just being honest and saying, you know, showing their vulnerability and saying, do you know what? That's something we're actively working on. We're not here yet. We're not there with it yet, but I promise you we're trying. They don't say that. They go around it like, oh, but we did do this thing. Did you see this thing that we did? Yeah. And then they ignore the question because they don't want to show their vulnerability. How easy would it be if someone was like, why didn't you do that thing? I'm really sorry. I gave it a go. I just couldn't get it right. Can you help me? That makes it so much easier. And I think this is something that the divine feminine or feminine energy in general struggles with is you know, they're worried to show their vulnerability in case it gets taken advantage of, right? But when you cultivate a divine feminine space from your divine feminine leadership, you allow people to be their true selves and celebrate it. Now, I've been shown this in such a clear way since my healing journey, and I feel like this is something I've been building consistently for myself as well. And this has come from Avatar Ayuso, my I work with her with our dance charity. She was the first woman boss that I've ever had, and I say boss. She's we're not I don't I work with her, but she's the owner of the charity, the founder. She's the first female leader that I've watched cultivate that space, and from there, I've started to see it in other places too. Because once you find it, you see more of it, right? And it's so beautiful. And I feel like another example of this is the Jacinda Ardern, who is the Prime Minister for New Zealand, right? It's that cultivating space. And I don't remember her name, but the lady, the Prime Minister of Scotland, she also does it, right? It's about doing it the feminine way. Listening is our greatest asset as human beings, to listen, to listen to what people need. And guess what? As a woman, as a female, divine feminine, your intuition knows before you do. So it's listening to not only other people what they need, but to you. What feels right to you? These are the divine feminine leadership skills. Okay. So it's listening to others and also to your intuition. The next thing is compassion. Okay. It is hard in the streets. Okay, for a lot of people right now as well. And it will continue to get that way because the way the world is that the people in power hold the power and the people without power end up feeling more helpless because that's the dynamic the people in power want. When you start to gain your power, you realize that's all a game and you don't want to be part of it, right? But until that happens, you are left feeling in this space where everything is happening to you. Yeah, we've all been there. We sometimes fall into that. I'm one of those people too. When I'm overly stressed, I forget that I have as much power as I do, and I need a little shift, little shimmy out of it. And I'm like, oh yeah, forgot that was a bad bitch. But yeah, I hope that you feel that too. You know, a good shake out, somatic shake, vigorous shake, that'll do it. But having compassion for where people are at is also important, but you will only build the trust in your team, in your environment, in your friends, in your family, if you lead with it first. Okay. This is something that I advocate for heavily, and you'll hear me say it until I'm blue in the face. And it's the energy you put out is what you receive back. So if you want your team, your people, your loved ones to meet you with vulnerability, you have to lead with vulnerability. Okay. You have to lead with it. I often, if I want to get something out of someone that I'm with, that I know that they're not telling me, for example, if you can see that one of your friends is really distressed, they're completely not themselves, they look really upset, and they're just someone that's like, I'm fine, I'm fine. You have to lead with, you know what, today has been one of them days, and you just tell them one thing. I mean, don't look for problems, but we've all, we get through life every single day. We can either highlight the lows or the highs, but in those situations it's being honest with, like, okay, that could have been that was a difficult situation, but I handled it really well. You just tell them that. Just say, you know what, today's been quite difficult, I've had a lot to do, I've been juggling a lot, and it's taken me a little bit of a time to get back into feeling in the flow of like myself. I don't know if you, I mean, yeah, like, how are you feeling? That would open the door. But you might find that even before you finish saying and asking them, how about you? They're already ready to tell you because you've opened the door to create that. That is such a beautiful space to cultivate. And I feel like, because I always lead with who I truly am in all of the spaces I go in, whether it was teaching dance at Pineapple, and I would just walk in the room and be like, oh my God, guys, sorry, the trains are a mess. I've made it here. And I make stupid jokes the whole way through because that's my sense of humor. They're not trying to prove anything to me. Like, I've gone into classes for years, and like, the dance teachers are like so prim and proper, so fierce, and like got everything done, and they're just teaching, and there's no personality that's coming through. So you'll feel like you've got to perform your very best because they're judging you. That's not the spaces I've ever cultivated. Even with my clients, the minute they come into my energy, I'm so brutally honest with them. I turn up with no makeup on because I don't need to project a show to them, right? I'm holding this space for them. And that is the beauty of this divine feminine leadership space. It's you have to go first, okay? That's what it requires to be a leader in general. But when you're cultivating divine feminine spaces, you have to wear your heart on your sleeve. And if that's something that you are struggling with, one, you need to attend my free masterclass. I'm going to talk all about this and give you the tools and tips that you need. But you need to be honest with yourself first. Like, if something in you right now feels like, oh, being vulnerable feels like, then that's a sign the work needs to be done. And I am the person to support you with that. So drop me a message because, this is my work. But, I'm going to talk about the opposite of what that looks like as well in a moment, but I want to give you all of the tips first. So, I said compassion, listening to yourself and to your intuition, and it's empathy. You can have compassion, but also empathizing with people. Like, compassion, you're understanding why someone's gone through what they've gone through and why it's difficult. But empathy is like, I'm really sorry that feels hard right now. Is there anything I can do to support you? That is the most beautiful question you can ask someone. Because saying, oh, you know where I am, let me know, you know where I am if you need help, actually saying to someone, that's really hard. That's so tough. What can I do to help you right now? And if they say, like, nothing, I'm good, how about I make you a cup of tea? How about you meet me for lunch on this day? How about I just bring in an extra bit of my leftovers from the night before to save you making dinner tonight? Do you know what I mean? Like, those little things, that's being empathetic. We need more of that. And you know what? You don't even need to do any of that stuff. Just holding the space for them. Like, how about, I know that these things are really hard for you right now, and maybe someone's gone for a breakup and you're like, that's really difficult. I'll tell you what, how about we have a FaceTime tomorrow night, and we can just have a glass of wine and just talk to each other on the phone for a few hours. Like, those little things, they don't cost anything. And I think this is something that we forget in life, and especially if you do run a business or you're a business owner, I feel like there's always a like tit for tat thing, like we're trying to get something out of it, we're trying to grow something. And I see it a lot with like networking spaces, is that people are trying to gain something from someone else, but it's not about that. It's about cultivating a space that you want to be a part of. This is why women's circles are so beautiful, because There's nothing to gain there. There's only something to give. And the love that you give, again, comes back to you because you are a mirror, right? And you don't have to go there to purpose. You're like, right, I'm going to give today. It's like just being aware that there's a flow. And when you're open to giving, you're also open to receiving. And so many of us get so caught up in that, as women, we are conditioned to give. Yeah, we give a lot. We give so much. But if you are giving all of the time, you have nothing left. So when you go into these divine feminine spaces and or you're creating it, you're allowing a flow of receiving and giving at the same time, which is so important because I think in masculine spaces, it's taking. And there is, don't get me wrong, there's some really divine, masculine, beautiful ways of leadership, which I've seen. And it is about that, that they're taking, but they're also giving value, and it's value, value, value. And then it's like, you can take this, they condition that part of it. For us in the feminine space, it is about that giving and receiving flow. So, and that's the law of the universe, right? And you're working with that. So it's just understanding that that is equally important to this process. So I want to talk a little bit about what the opposite of that looks like. So the divine feminine leadership space is understanding, compassionate, empathetic, supportive, right? Supportive always, and leading with vulnerability, openness, and honesty, right? And I think that, in that as well, I just want to make super clear that you aren't people pleasing. You aren't breaking your boundaries to support other people. They are the divine masculine structures within your business, in your life. You have to have those pillars in place in order for the divine feminine to flow through it. Okay, this is when we say we need both. We do need both, because guess what? Without those pillars in place, you are just going to be floating around willy-nilly, right? And I say this quite a lot, but also what happens in this space, like I was saying, the opposite of this is the inner critic leads. Okay, when you have too much going on in your head all of the time, you're going to be criticizing yourself more. You're going to be putting yourself down. You're going to be questioning your every move because you don't trust yourself, right? The divine feminine leads from a space of self-trust because she listens to her intuition. When she is not in that divine feminine space, she is lost. She is stuck. She is confused. She doubts herself, and she listens to that critic in her head that tells her she's not good enough and she shouldn't do it. Right? And because she expects so much of herself, she expects too much from other people, whether it be family, friends, or a work scenario. And that is the toxic side of this. This is what the opposite of divine feminine leadership looks like. And I don't want that for you anymore, because how many of us have been there? How many of us have judged someone else in our team, in our life, because they haven't done the thing that we did, right? We've ignored our boundaries and bent over backwards. So why didn't they do that? Well, why didn't they do that for us? Because I did that for them. That's not their problem. That's yours. That's your problem. And again, you set the tone for everything. We have to set boundaries. And that is part of the divine feminine leadership process, but also that's also divine masculine as well. Boundaries is just a divine space, okay? That's just divine. We're just going to say it, okay? And what I mean by that is that is the highest, most important thing that you can do for yourself is set boundaries, okay? That needs to be one of the first thing that happens in your processing, right? When I work with my clients, we start to work through the childhood experiences. We understand them, we accept them, and we release them. Okay, this is all part of my four-pointed formula. From then, we rebuild. And with the rebuild comes the boundaries, the new boundaries. And this is the thing, I have obviously my clients are all female, but they always say to me, oh, I've had these friends for, 15 years. And I'm like, okay, so what's the relationship look like then? Is it balanced? You all, is it equal exchange? Is it, like, do you have like times where you just take it in turns? And they're like, no, actually I do all the running around, and I do all the calling, I do all the texting, I do all the helping. I'm like, so they're actually not a friend. You're of service to them, you know? And that's a lack of boundaries on your part. This is something that is uncomfortable as well, because when we're talking about being a leader, that it does require you to do things that are outside of your comfort zone. But once you create this beautiful habit of standing in that power, you then see what no longer serves you. And it's the same with that voice in your head, you know? If you have big dreams and aspirations and or you're in a space where you do lead and you lead others, whether it be, work or education or your own business, you have to go first. That's the leadership way, right? So if your colleagues, your friends, your families are watching you lead from a space of trusting yourself, listening to yourself, holding the space and being compassionate and empathetic, that is all you living in integrity. So then when other people see you do that, they will what? Mirror it back. And that's how you create this beautiful divine feminine leadership space, business, life, balance, everything. Okay. But it starts with you embodying it first. You have to embody it first. You can't pretend. You can't do one part and not the other part. It has to be a complete synergy of all of the components. Otherwise, people will tell that you are out of alignment. And do you know what? I would be honest about that. If this is something new to you, if setting boundaries is new to you, or, even trusting yourself is new to you and you feel like, oh, you're still doubting yourself a little bit, I would be honest with the people in your life and be like, I'm trying something different. I'm trying something different right now. And it feels challenging, but I'm trusting myself or trying to trust myself a little bit more every day because I know that I want to become more empowered in my everyday life. I want to make decisions based on what I know that I need and what is good for me over what everyone else is doing or what I've done before that doesn't work or doesn't feel good. That conversation, that is beautiful. And the people in your life that support you and care about you, they want to hear that. They want to hear that from you. Like when I was shifting in my business and, I went from being a dancer, burnt out, crazy. I mean, crazy probably isn't the right word, but there's definitely an energy shift from me. And I feel like I notice it more now because I've recently connected with a few people that I lost contact with like years and years ago, even before my healing work. And I've started to connect with them again. And I even feel in myself this sense of softness and ease and peace, and I speak about that quite a lot, but I feel like I was living out of my body in my head my whole life, right? And I think now I'm so in my body. That's how I know that I'm leading from my feminine space because I'm not leading with the overthinking, the projecting. That's a massive part of toxic masculine energy. I was projecting out how I wanted people to see me, maybe saying things that I knew would get a reaction of like, wow, you're doing amazing, rah, rah, rah. Now I feel like I'm so much more humble with it because it just is me, right? When people are saying to me, oh, you seem so much more relaxed, so much calm, like I feel like so grounded when I'm around you, like all of that. Even funny enough, when I was in my toxic masculine space, I was always quite grounded in it. But again, it was all I knew. So Capricorn moon, sign, yeah, makes sense. But with the feminine energy space, because I'm safe in me, other people will feel safer with me, right? So before I could hold the space for dancing, I could hold the space for teaching, but when I was having deep conversations with people, I was listening rather than speaking. Whereas now I'm leading from that divine feminine space and holding the space for people because I'm going first. And that's the beautiful transition when you are in your divine feminine leadership space. So I'm going to break all of this down step by step and how you can achieve this for you in my free webinar, which is on the 22nd of October. So if you are listening to time, the link will be in the bio in the description. If you aren't listening to time, it will be a replay. So whenever you catch this, you can catch this, whenever you catch this episode, you can catch the replay and or the live masterclass webinar with me on the 22nd of October. And I do encourage you to come live because if you have questions or, there's things that you need answered or you just want to be in that energy of being held, especially by the women that are going to be in that space, it really is transformational. And this is what I was born to do, was create these spaces and give women the tools to be able to achieve the life they truly deserve. Right now you may feel like you're in the grey in your life because you feel like you're going through the motions and you're just getting by. Maybe you are leading from a masculine space that doesn't feel comfortable in your body, and you've been doing it for a really long time, which has led you to burnout or illness over and over again, and you're now looking for a softer way of doing things. That is what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how you can cultivate your natural skills that you have left dormant for so long and allow them to come up to the surface so they can lead, so you can flow in that beautiful energy that you deserve to be in. You just deserve it. I feel like more than anything, I'm sad that I was in that toxic space for such a long time, and I feel like people were aware that I was in it and they were rewarding me for hard work. It was only a few people that said to me, do you have to do that? Do you have to keep doing that? Do you have to do this as well? Like little people were nodding to me that, maybe you're doing a bit too much. But I had something to prove. I had to prove to people that I wasn't a traumatized person that was going to be like what she's seen in her family. And when I realized that that was what I was doing, I was like, you've already proved your point. You've already done that. And also, who are you proving it to? Because when I connect with my younger self, she needed that. She needed to see it. But when she did see it and realized that it cost my peace and my health at times, she was like, I just want to be happy, girl. I just want to be happy. And that is what I've been able to create from living in this space, of that divine softness. And that only comes from taking that beautiful energy that flows within me and leading with it. And that's how you deserve to live your life. So, Tuesday, 22nd of October, join me at 7:30 on Zoom. The link is in this so I say chat, it's not in the chat, it's in the description of the show. But if, like I said, if you're not listening to time, this information is invaluable. You can listen to it over and over again, write some notes down. The replay would probably be in the show notes. If it's not, obviously drop me a DM and I'll have the replay. So, connect with me on socials and we'll have a chat about it. And or if you're listening to this thinking, I really need to implement this now in my life, again, drop me a DM, because this is my work. This is what I do. This is what I work with clients with. And I'm seeing such beautiful results, just even down to today, like looking on my socials and seeing that I told my client that she needs to prioritize joy and that she's having like a fun weekend. I was like, there you go, and just hearing my clients say about, how their life feels different, how they start to make space. I've had some really beautiful client wins as well, lots of new jobs, letting go of old jobs and quitting things, and then new things coming in. It's been like a real transformational period for a lot of people. And I'm excited for that for you. But first of all, you have to give yourself the permission to shine. So on that note, I'm going to stop being cheesy and I will see you next time. Lots of love. Join me Tuesday, 22nd. Love you. Bye.
If this episode resonated with you, please do like, follow and share with someone that you know would benefit. If you're looking to dive in deeper to becoming your most unapologetic, most authentic, shining self, please do head to my website and join my newsletter, where you will find out about all of my upcoming events and speaking opportunities and all of the things that I have going on. And also, if you would like to work with me, please do drop me a DM on any of my socials or through my website. Love and light.